The first duty of every Starfleet officer is to the truth, whether it's scientific truth, or historical truth, or personal truth. It is the guiding principle on which Starfleet is based.
In typical Star Trek Lower Decks fashion, the creators have taken something that has been left dangling on a thread and ignored for decades at this point, then expanded on it, to give a satisfying follow-up and/or conclusion. In this case, they put an end to a fan theory that Nick Locarno and Thomas Eugene Paris are, in fact, the same person. Welcome to Trek Central, Tom, Nick and Harry's. I'm your host, Captain Jack. Before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Okay, you remember Nick Locarno, right? Well, of course you should. If you've seen that one Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The First Duty, and the Star Trek Lower Decks episodes, The Inner Flight, and Old Friends, New Planets, and so the latter, we're all low-key convinced every Voyager episode ever.
He looks like Tom Paris.
I don't see it.
They have, like, the same face. They're identical.
No, I just don't see it.
With that line, saying how he looks like 100% Tom Paris, the show has definitely debunked that 3-decade-long sort of story. And it's basically been a fairly convincing theory of Nick and Tom being the same character, as they are both portrayed by Mr. Robert Duncan McNeill. So, who's who? Well, I'm here to tell you how exactly this works. Confusing, right? In 2368, as a cadet first class, Nicholas Locarno was the leader of Starfleet Academy's elite flight team, Nova Squadron. The team also consisted of cadet second class Jean Hajar and Sito Jaxa, third class Wesley Crusher, and cadet no-stated class Joshua Albert. He had a very surefire attitude of "we're the best parts of the Academy has seen in years." The Nova Squadron flight team was tasked with performing for the graduating class of 2368 on the Academy flight range. Intent on ending his Academy career in a blaze of glory, as the leader, he convinced his team to learn the Colvard starburst for the commencement, despite his team's apprehensions and Mr. Wesley Crusher's objections. Pulling it off would allow Nicholas Locarno and the rest to graduate living legends. Because, in his words, once they leave the Academy and are all posted to different ships across the fleet, out there, there'll be nobodies, even poking fun at Wesley. But at least Wesley got to pilot a Federation flagship, well, before entering the Academy. Anywho, shortly before the commencement, there was an accidental collision when attempted to pull off a maneuver near Saturn's moon of Titan. Joshua Albert was accidentally killed, whilst the remaining members of the team were able to escape in an emergency transport. Locarno convinced the survivors to cover up the fact that they were able to perform the prohibited maneuver and lie at the subsequent hearing. He went as far to explain in detail their original flight plan, as fired by Cadet Hajar, who herself stated that the 2000 km deviation was definitely within safety parameters and essentially not worth mentioning. Locarno stepped up when Sito became flustered in her line of questioning and put the blame squarely on the late cadet's shoulders, saying he was having difficulties during close flybys but would pull away from them at the last second. Erratic formations.
The accident was not Josh's fault. Look, it was my friend too, Wes.
It was only when Captain Jean-Luc Picard visited groundskeeper Boothby, and with very little effort, threw Nick off a cliff for being the team's coach, surrogate father, and best friend, basically an all-in-one and natural leader. So if he asked the team to do something, they would do it, even if that means going right over a cliff. After discovering this, and with the information of Data and LaForge that they discovered from the flight recorders, he was able to figure out what the failed attempt was. Picard was straight to the point. He offered Wesley an ultimatum, to either come forward with the truth about what really happened and a conspiracy to cover it up, or he would. The result had Nick Locarno expelled from the Academy. He did what he said he would do, protect the team. It was bigger than him or anyone else. The others on the team were allowed to remain, but their academic credits for the year were cancelled, and they were not to advance their class. Since 2368, Locarno's whereabouts were far less than scuttlebutt until seemingly severely random attacks on non-Federation vessels by an unknown ship started cropping up, later targeting ex-Starfleet officers, all of whom were somewhat high profile. Think 7 of 9, who had not yet entered Starfleet, though was a key member of the USS Voyager's crew. Beverly Crusher, as we know, had left Starfleet for humanitarian aid. Thomas Riker, last known to be in the hands of the Cardassians, and of course, Nick Locarno. There is the first inclination that he is not Tom Paris, who is not stated as otherwise, still serving in Starfleet, and we are saying this in jest of course. Now, 13 years after his expulsion, Nick has become a pilot for hire, residing on the planet New Axton, twice as lawless as Old Axton, without any of the charm. The usual team of lower deckers are not tasked with the retrieval of him due to the concern that he would be participating and basically be more dangerous behaviour from the stroppy self-sabotaging Beckett Mariner, who herself was friends with Sito Jaxa. See, a personal connection. Mariner, Tendi and T'Lyn, with Mr. Boimler, are sent off by a shuttle on a perilous mission instead. The main mission fell to the Cerritos command crew, the away team led by Captain Freeman accompanied by Shax and Rutherford. When they arrived on the surface, Freeman stated Locarno was last seen drinking at an establishment in the Pickpockets district. But the joke's on them, their trousers don't even have pockets. Wait, they do. That fabled question is finally answered. Yes, they do actually have pockets. Even Rutherford, who wears them on a daily basis, has his mind blown. It's like finding a back pocket to a pair of trousers, or in this case pants you never knew you owned. After having Lieutenant Commander Billups disguised as a bounty hunter and Freeman rough up the information broker, causing him to refuse to sell Starfleet the intel but to anyone else, Billups moses on over, pays for the information, and the group can locate his hideaway. Much to their surprise, they discover plans and blueprints of the ship Nova 1, the one that has been going around attacking ships for the past month. Locarno rescued Mariner from a hostile planet she and her away team found themselves on, trying to get her on the side, telling her she was practically a junior member of Nova Squadron. Still, now they're back as Nova Fleet. Locarno shows of a fleet of ships in the Detrion system that had previously been destroyed, but were in fact liberated. They're part of the first totally independent non-aligned fleet of the Alpha Quadrant.
The Maquis would like a word.
His fleet and crews are made up of liberated lower deckers from the ships apparently destroyed, turned out to be targeted by Locarno after convincing the crews to turn on their soulless bureaucratic captains, who didn't even know their names. Locarno controlled by possessing a black market Ferengi Genesis device. Quickly swiped by the aforementioned rescued Mariner with a sweet jump spinny kick and went on to single-handedly steal back a Steam Runner class USS Passaro NCC 52670. By the way, this seems to actually be the Saber Runner class. It's a kit bash between the Steam Runner and the Saber class. We've got a dedicated video coming on the Steam Runner class soon. Keep an eye out for that one and we'll update you on it. Locarno's ultimate downfall is that despite wanting to give everyone free will and equality, he felt as though he was still in charge, just like the leader of Nova Squadron. Though this time, his actions were not for the good of the team, but instead destructive and wound up driving a Nova fleet away, leaving him to give chase to Mariner into a storm cloud, beaming to her ship where he let his anger define his actions. Mariner, having set a timer on the Genesis device, was beamed away and Locarno was left to disarm it successfully, but was prevented by a complete deactivation from a Ferengi paywall. Yeah. He may not have graduated the Academy with flying colours, but he certainly went out with a bang of flying colours. Quite similarly in the shape of a Culver's starburst, being mixed up with the device's detonation in the Ion Storm cloud. It all created an entirely new M-class planet, appropriately named Locarno, intended to be the future home for any refugees. Initially, it was intended to have Nick Locarno return to Star Trek, but instead they had McNeill play a similar character to avoid paying royalty fees to the scriptwriter who invented Nick Locarno for every episode he appeared in. It made the idea unworkable. Thus, Thomas Eugene Paris became a cocky flyboy, and to be fair, he did get the crew out of many situations, even when the ship had been flipped arse over head. Yes, that's a saying I'm going to stick to now. Tom Paris began as an observer, quickly to a lieutenant and chief con officer after people died. He got demoted to ensign for stealing the Delta Flyer and almost killing some people in the ocean. Got banged up for 30 days, crashed the Delta Flyer, nearly killing the only mother with a daughter on board Voyager, well done, blew up the Delta Flyer's warp core. Now, if I didn't know better, I'd say they are the same person, let's be honest. While it isn't uncommon for previously established characters to cross over or even transfer completely to another area of the Federation, such as Mr. Miles O'Brien and of course Mr. Worf, to have two identical characters seemingly have committed the same crime, being exceptional pilots, led Star Trek fans to conclude that Tom Paris was in fact Nick Locarno, just renamed. I mean, come on, it practically is. Or yes, from the off, it did sound very familiar. Nick even formed a Maquis style of sorts, from which Tom Paris was reformed after spending some time in a Federation penal colony, before being recruited by Captain Janeway to help capture other Maquis. Until the final two Star Trek Lower Decks episodes of Season 4, it was fairly convincible that they were the same character. They were just a template and inspiration. He could have even been considered a soft reboot. Seeing as how the Ferengi, as a species, underwent a soft reboot, so to speak. Initially being a militaristic joke to a self-serving, male-chauvinistic, sexist and money-grabbing knobhead. Is that a good way to describe a Ferengi? Maybe. Yet for some reason, they have a lovable goof of a race. We love you, Quark. Another example of a similar character reboot and transformation is Mr. Rodney McKay from the equally awesome franchise Stargate SG-1, or Stargate Atlantis, the whole Stargate franchise. He began as a totally slappable, sexist, uptight, scientist douchebag. I don't use that word very often. Who he'd wish would suck a lemon, yet returned as an uptight scientist douchebag, but actually gave a damn by others in his team besides himself. Some of the time. And others wish he'd suck a lemon. Love Stargate. It can also happen between film to series continuation, or from a pilot to the rest of a series. Nope, we're not going down that rabbit hole. So, was Nick Locarno given the end he deserved? Did he deserve worse? Did he deserve better given he took full responsibility for Josh's death? Although he did fulfill his dream of performing a Culvered Starburst, too soon? Would it make it better if I say he managed to do it by himself, and became a planet for future Federation refugees? In terms of Star Trek endings, pretty wholesome. It could have been some real fun if they had him impersonate Tom Paris, and steal the Cerritos for Nova Fleet. No, wait, that's been done before, hasn't it? Clones? Imposters? Theft? Ah well. Okay everyone, if you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.